Right, what have we got today? Well, today is something I've been looking forward to for a while because I'm quite interested to see what Convoy's take on the headlight, or if you prefer headlamp, market is, because they don't have one. So as you know, I'm a big fan of the Convoy S2. This is the S2 Plus, which was a slight refresh that they did more recently, and it's very cheap but reliable, and it's got enough of an output where for the price you can't knock it. So that's one of the things about Convoy. They become quite ubiquitous in the fact that they're easy to get a hold of. They're a little bit chunky. I mean, they're more chunky than an Olight and things like that, but they're cheaper, which I think counts for a lot. And they're good starter flashlights. So if you're just starting to get into the flashlight world, I like the Convoy. So put that to one side. So what are we looking at today? This is the Convoy H1, and it is a headlamp or headlight, if you prefer, running on the Cree XML2. So here's what you get in the pack. Now you get a little clip. So I'll take everything out first, and then I'll show you in detail. And there's the actual unit itself, so looking pretty good. Now, if you notice, it looks suspiciously like a Skillhunt H03, which I'll show you in a moment. And let's just check this. Right, there's nothing else in the box there, so let's get rid of the box. Nobody keeps that. So there's the unit, and there's your clip. So I just want to point out the fact that the similarities between this and the Skillhunt. So if I can find it, here is the Skillhunt here. Now, if you have a look, I'll take it out of the headlamp. Connector there. Right, now look at the similarities here. I want to show everyone this in detail. So they both have a silver surround. Obviously this has an orange peel reflector, whereas this uses a TIR lens. But if you look at the knurling, it's almost identical. The button is extremely similar. So the Convoy on the bottom there with a semi-transparent button, same again. Even the surround on the button is almost identical, and they have copied the heatsink design. Or I'll not use the word copy, they've drawn inspiration from Skillhunt's design, I'll say. But if you notice, Skillhunt's heatsinks, I would argue, are deeper and therefore better. And if you notice, it's more chunky and it's slightly bigger. So it's slightly heavier, slightly chunkier, and slightly bigger than the Skillhunt. And you're not going to get as many options as you do with the Skillhunt, but this costs a little bit more. So let's get rid of this and let's talk about the unit I'm supposed to be talking about. So this is the headlamp. Now, the whole point of this is it's a 90-degree. So rather than the usual what you get with a flashlight, it's a 90-degree design. So you have this cell here which powers it, and then the LED fires out at a 90-degree angle. Now, the benefit of that is, now obviously, you're going to have to put it in this sort of contraption and put it around your head, and then you can twist to get to the angle that you prefer, down on your feet or into the distance. But the benefit of this is if you use something like a clip, I mean obviously you can hold it like this and use it, but the benefit of the clips are, if I put the clip on, that's not the best clip I've ever seen, but it's a little bit weak. Yeah, that doesn't go even half the way. It doesn't go past halfway around. Now, because of that, that's going to be particularly weak. If you knock that, it's going to come off. So, not particularly a fan of this. They need to make this further around. But anyway, if you do use a clip, this is great on pockets, or I use clips like this on molly webbing and things like that. It's brilliant. You just click it in, and as long as you're not running and gunning and jumping up and down like an idiot, it generally doesn't come out, and it points to what you're doing. You can do hands-free stuff, work on machinery, work a firearm or whatever. So handy to have. And then, but obviously, tilt you don't get, but you can twist left and right, and just angle your body if you're busy with things. So I like the inclusion of the clip. I really appreciate that. It's similar in design to the clip you get on the Olight H2R Nova here, but obviously theirs is a slightly different design. You know, you can clip top and bottom here. But you see the way theirs goes further around the circumference of the cylinder. So I'm pulling quite hard there, and it's not coming off. I had to put a lot of force into to get it to come on and off there. So big difference there. But that is a decent light. So a clip, I think that needs redesigning. So we'll put that to one side. So if you were to use this as your headlamp, you would just fit it through this device and then put this around your head. Now I will comment this is a little bit flimsy. It's very lightweight. It's not fleece lined like the Skill Hunt. The Skill Hunt has almost like a soft, it's almost like microfiber. It's very, very soft, and I do like using that out in the wilderness. I never have any problems, and it uses a nice soft, almost silicone-like rubber on there. On this one, it's a little bit flimsy. Unfortunately, there's not a lot of structure to this, which you need a little bit, and you need a little bit of structure, and you know, this needs to be stable. Otherwise, what happens is, if you start increasing your speed when you're walking, or if you're running, it just jiggles and jumps about. I mean, the way around that is to use like what they did on the Skill Hunt. They have a 3-point system here, so you have 1, 2, and then you have this other one which goes over the top of the head, and that definitely helps with stopping jiggling about. If you want to solve the problem of jiggles, you get one over the top. That's what I always say. So a little bit flimsy. So I think the clip needs a little bit of redesign. That just needs to go further around and make it slightly thicker. This needs a work. It needs to be, it's just a little bit too flimsy. It does work if you're stationary or fishing or working on machinery or in the car or camping. You're not going to have a problem. But obviously, I've tried running and jogging in this, and you get jiggle, which is a little bit annoying. So let's put that to one side, and let's cover the actual unit here. So I'll put a battery in while I tell you about it. So this runs on an 18650. Here's an 18650. This is a 30Q, even though it doesn't look like it. It's a Samsung 30Q with a ODB wrap on it. So let's get into this. So now you can screw this top and bottom. I presume that's so at some point you can get different tubes and shorter tubes. I didn't see one available, but this is quite a new flashlight. So nice threads, and you have a, as you can see there, you have a nice rubber O-ring there, which just it enforces the waterproofing, and as you can see down there, it's nice and clean. There's the circuit board there, nice, and there's your spring. It's not a heavy duty one, but it's a thicker one, so that's nice to see. I prefer the thicker ones, and as you can hear, not a lot of noise. That's nice and smooth, the well machined, nice quality there. So let's get the cell in positive to the top there. So it's running on the Cree XML2, which is very standard for all of these. You're going to get around about 1,000 lumens from this, and I think on maximum they quote this on turbo as 1,046 lumens. Although bear in mind, some of these Chinese manufacturers, the ANSI value, in other words, what actually comes out the front, may be less than that, and I suggest that it will be with this. So that's nice and comfortable going in there. So a little bit of battery rattle if you listen, a tiny little bit, but bear in mind I'm not using a button top, I am using a flat top. So you generally lose that issue because it holds the cell tighter because you're using up more space. Okay, so this is the one I picked anyway. This is in the neutral white, which is 42,000K, but you can also get it in 5,000 or 6,500. So what am I talking about there? That's just the tint of the light. So sunlight is around 4,500 to 5,000K. If you go out in the sun, you get a sort of a yellowy browny light. That's what it looks like on planet Earth. I mean, I realise that sunlight is white basically, but on the planet it's changed by the atmosphere, and that's what I would call neutral. In other words, it's closest to sunlight. And you can go lower than that, this is slightly lower, so it's 4,200K, so it's a little bit more warmer. But if you don't like that, you can go straight for the 6,500K, which is like a white light. So it's very white. It's a more modern look. It's less like an incandescent bulb or something like that. So you have those options available here. It has memory function. Now, memory function just means that if you run this, it's going to remember that mode that you're in. So if you turn that off and come back half an hour later and turn it back on, you're going to get the same mode. It's going to say, okay, I remember what mode that was in. When you turn it back on, bang, you're straight to that mode. It's just a time-saving feature, and it's interesting to have. Now, this is only IPX6. Now, I know I keep going on about this, but I prefer an IPX8. If you take an IPX8, it means that you can put that into water, up to 2 meters of water. It isn't going to get damaged for a couple of hours. It means you can drop it in a stream. Any amount of rain isn't going to cause any problems. Unfortunately, this isn't IPX8, which is a shame, because I don't see why on this design it can't be. I presume maybe this button has a point of ingress, but it's a nuisance because they could have done better there. I know that the skill hunt is certainly better in that regards. I don't know why they haven't managed it on this. The only difference between IPX 8 and IPX 6 really is this will endure jets of water. In other words, non-super pressurized, but with a little bit of force. So heavy driving rain and things like that, or a jet of water in the face splashed on you, it should be okay. But if you drop that in water, then all bets are off. Which I prefer to have something which is guaranteed. IPX8, you don't have to worry about water, especially if you're out camping. There's nothing worse than losing your primary beam. It's horrific. So I would prefer them to fix that, but this is on the cheaper end of the scale, so okay, fair enough. I couldn't find any drop rating. I presume it's probably going to be around 1 meter, but don't quote me on that. That's not from the manufacturers, that's my guesstimate. So 1 meter onto concrete, you're probably going to be okay, but bear in mind the unit might be okay, but the cell, if you get the exact right angle, you can damage the cell. And you really don't want to be damaging lithium ions, because once they hit moisture or water in the air, that's when you can get problems due to the chemistry that can go on fire and things like that. So let's go through the modes and how you do them. So very basic on this one. Press the button and it turns on, and then you've got 4 modes. So you've got ultra low, which is 1 lumen. You get 83 hours out of an 18650, which is great. 1 lumen is just for doing very low level stuff. I mean, that to me looks more than 1 lumen. That looks about 5, but I'll believe the manufacturers when they say that. So 83 hours out of that, you can do your map reading, and a lot of the times a low mode like this on a headlamp is exceptionally useful, because if you're camping with other people, there's nothing worse than some idiot who's next to you or sitting opposite over a fire who has the beam too high. It leaks and gets in your face, and it ruins your night vision. It's very distracting and annoying, because then when you try and go for a pee and you haven't got a light, you can't see a damn thing because you've got all these orbs in front of your face and your night vision's ruined. So yes, I know people can angle them down, but it's more respectful for other campers and things like that. So that's your basic mode, and then you press it again, and there you go. I will get it eventually. There you go. So the next mode up is medium, 40 lumens, 42.5 hours runtime. That's pretty light if you ask me. And then the next one is high. So that's 388 lumens, 4.5 hours ish on run times on an 18650 with a decent capacity, 3000 to 3500 milliamp hours. And then you've got your turbo. Now that's the maximum you're going to get. Now that's quite hot there already on my hand. I can feel it. So according to them, you're getting up to 1046 lumens. Now they reckon you get about a 45 minutes run time. Now that's pretty good. That's pretty good for this sort of thing. I'm going to put that down, and if I can find it, there it is. I just want to check with my thermometer. So before I do that, I shall discuss some other stuff, because I just want to let that run and see if there's a step down. Generally with these things, what happens is they run on turbo for a minute, and then they'll step down. Independent of temperature, they're just set to do that. So I'm presuming that'll be the case on this one. Okay, now there is one other mode you can get to with a double click, which is strobe. And because that's still running at turbo, which is the specified lumens of about 1046, it's on and off, quite a slow strobe actually. You're probably going to get about 1.5 hours runtime out of that. So we've had that running for a bit. It's not, I'll be honest, it's not too hot. There's not many flashlights where you can do that and hold it. I look like Superman with a hot coal in my hand, don't I? When Christopher Reeve went to Niagara Falls with Lois Lane and got the hot coal in his hand. But I'm able to do that. So although I had to go to these heat sinks, I think because it's quite chunky, I'm actually able to hold that. Now there's one or two things going on here. That's either not 1000 lumens, or this is exceptional build quality and it's not getting very hot. So let's just check that. So let's see if I can get on this bit. So what temperature have we got here? So we've got a temperature of 37, so it's under 40, so that's quite surprising. So that's you can pocket that, no problem. It's probably not going to be on your trousers, even though you're going to look a bit like an X-Men character. But that's pretty good. So I'm impressed with that. So I'm interested whether that's because of the design, or the fact that this isn't really putting out 1,000 lumens. That's probably the more accurate answer. So like I say, double click, takes you straight to strobe. I'll put it down because I don't want to annoy people, and then off. Now generally on these flashlights a double click would be turbo. There doesn't seem to be a shortcut straight to turbo, which is a nuisance. It's unfortunate, but it's a very simple UI, and I think we're probably better off with a very simple UI, because if this is a starter flashlight for someone, it's going to do a decent job. I'm quite happy with that. So I'm going to turn that off, and I'm going to explain this lens because there's a few things I want to talk about it. So turn that off for a second. Right, all good so far. Now if you notice, this is a orange peel reflector. Now I really must discuss these. I know some people get a bit annoyed with me keep going over this, but in order for me to discuss its function and form, I need to go over it. So you can see that's an orange peel reflector. You see all the little bumps in that little reflective bowl there. So what you get is, in fact what I'll do is I'll show you on the, that's the same, that's an orange peel reflector. Now I do have a smooth one. So here's a smooth reflector on the headlight SC01 here. So if I turn that on, you can see you get some distinct zones. You see you get this big circular area and a smaller area in the middle. So this is your spot, and from here to here is your spill. Now you will, I'll go over the importance of this because I need to discuss this for this review here. So here's your beam profile on the wall. You've got your spot and then your spill, which is superfluous light straight from the LED. It's not angled or directed in any manner. So if we take a sort of side section look at this light, what you'll find is there's your LED on your circuit board there, and you have your spill coming out, which is light directly from the LED. Now as well as that, because it's a smooth reflector, the design of this smooth reflector, it bounces the light around and it focuses it into a spot. Now the whole point of that is you're trying to get the light to travel. You're trying to get it as maximum distance. So on this one, this smooth reflector is fantastic for firing the light out across a field or across a river to see into the distance. The problem is up close, can you see what happens? Look, it obscures detail. Now obviously I'm making this the worst case scenario. There are ways around that. You can turn the output down or move away. There, now you can see, but I'm just giving you an extreme example. So your other option is to use an orange peel reflector. So rather than smooth, you can see it's pitted and aberrated, and it's not perfect. It's like an orange. So if we took a side section of that, the reflector is no longer smooth, has little bumps in it. So what happens is when it hits the wall, instead of getting this, it's more like this. You have a transition zone between the spot and the spill. There's more of a transition. So for example, here's an S2 which uses a orange peel reflector. So if I turn that off strobe so people don't go bananas, there you go. So can you see? Yes, you've got the spot in the middle, but it's certainly not obscuring detail as much. Can you see that? That effect is limited, and there's a little bit of a transition there. So the benefit of that is you're not obscuring detail. The downside of that is you're not able to fire as far into the distance. So if range is an issue, you want a smooth one. If medium range is probably what you're after, in other words, the best of both worlds, an orange peel reflector. Now the extreme end of the example, which I'm going to come to, is a TIR lens rather than reflector. Now in this instance, if you took a cross section, there's your LED. Right over the top, you put a solid plastic TIR lens. So the light comes into this lens and it's reflected internally. So TIR, total internal reflection. So it's very little loss of light within this process, and then emanates how you define. I mean, you can have a smooth exit strategy or a slightly bumped one to facet it out. So on the H03 by Skill Hunt here, you can see this is a TIR. Now one of the benefits of TIR is you lose some of the height. You don't need it to be as high. So that's one of the reasons why. See, it's slightly smaller than the Convoy, doesn't need to have that height. Now what you'll notice is when I turn this on, even if I put this on turbo, I'll turn it off there and then go straight to turbo. That's the maximum setting there, right? But can you see? Yes, you can basically see a spot there in spill, but the spill's beautiful. It's very transitioned. The whole thing is one big transition. So instead of this, you've literally got this hot point and then it comes out. And I mean, this is an exaggerated example, but it's all one sort of nice, clean swath of light there. So I'll turn that off. So the reason I've gone over those is because I want to talk about pros and cons. Now, you're probably thinking, well, what's the point of this, right? So let's look at these two as an example. So up close, TIR, I would argue, because of what I've just explained there, is best. It's got the best transition. It's all one big transition. You don't get any hot spots and it's less annoying. And because you've got this limited height, you get a great spread, a wide spread. Now, why would you want a wide spread? Well, I would argue that if you're walking, and I've done a lot of walking and running at night with a headlamp on, you need a wide beam. The reason is, if this spill isn't wide enough, if you've got that focused in front of you, you need this to be big enough so it hits your feet. If not, I mean, I've done it many times myself. You stumble over rough ground, or I've twisted my ankle going into rabbit holes and all sorts of things. I've done it multiple times, and it's always when I've used a flashlight which doesn't have enough spill. You need this extra light to allow you to see going downstairs without having to tilt your head down and then losing sight of what you're trying to look at. So I would argue that, unfortunately, this reflector's fine, and you could argue, okay, it's a compromise between close and medium, but the problem is, I think they should have made it wider. They should have done something with this silver here. They should have widened this in the same way that, if I show you here, on the HC65 by Nikkor, I love this thing. You get a there's no obstruction here on the output, so you get a very wide spill. I'll show you. There. So if I'm firing that, can you see the spill is actually right over here? You get a massive spill, which is great. So where your feet are, yes, you can fire out. I mean, this is a smooth reflector, but you're firing out into the distance, but you get that smooth spill, which allows you to put your feet in a safe position. So that would be my argument. So, you know, what I'm trying to say is, one of the cons of this is it needs a slightly wider beam. It also needs a direct turbo, I would argue, even though I think the whole point of this is it's a simple UI. It's like a starter headlamp, and it's certainly, as a basic functioning headlamp, I really like it. If you're just going fishing or working on the car or walking the dog, you won't have any problems with this. But if you wanted to spend a tiny little bit more, if you look at the Skill Hunt, it's thinner, it's smaller, it's lighter, it's not as tall, it's not as thick. You've got many more modes and sub-modes and beacon modes and all the SOS and strobe modes you could wish for. So this is probably a better deal. Here's what I think Convoy need to do. They need to... Now, I noticed the price, this was about $35 when I had a look at it online there. That being the case, in order to compete with something which is smaller, thinner, better, with more modes and a better lens, I would argue, you need to keep this cheap. That is one of the benefits of a Convoy. The whole point is it's cheap. You can get excellent firmwares like Biscotti and things like that. Very cheap, reliable and rugged. This is rugged, but I think if that price creeps to the $40 mark, they're not going to compete with this, because this is better. So if they drop the price and keep it at about $30, this is going to be excellent. I think at $30 I would give this a very high mark, but 35 they're starting to push it, so I would probably drop off half a mark for that, and as the price increases I would drop off another half. So, you know, it's all about, it depends what you're after. So cheapness, if that keeps the price down, I would say that's a great cheap unit. If you want something a bit better, I would probably go for the H03. I personally love this thing, and I've used it many times. And obviously one of the benefits is this has a magnetic base. So if, for example, if I have a knife knocking about, there's one. If you have some metal surface, you can stick it on like that. Any metallic surface, like a hood of a car, for example, that will stick. This one doesn't have that feature, which is very unfortunate because it doesn't take up a lot of space to put in a neodymium magnet. So I don't know why they wouldn't do that. So that's a little bit of a disappointment. Okay, other things which I'd like to say, the strap is too thin. I think they need to slightly bolster this, even if they just add a top bit like the Skill Hunt. They don't have to add, special reflective strips or the lovely coating. I'm happy to forgo that for the price, but make this a little bit more sturdy, because there was a little bit of jiggling and moving about, which I didn't like. Yes, you can tighten it up, but then you start getting ridiculous pressure headaches and things like that. I like the way that it doesn't run too hot. I like the simple UI. For a non-flashlight user, I think that's a good thing. But obviously, if you want something a bit more expensive, well, a lot more expensive, I should say, you could go for something like the Olight. I mean, it's got gimmicky things like, a magnetic head mount there. It doesn't come out generally. You've got a better clip, and obviously this is about 2,500 lumens on a beautiful TIR there. So you're getting much more output, but very expensive. Although you do have the nice built-in charging there, but bear in mind that built-in charging only works with proprietary batteries, which are 3 times more expensive than a normal 18650, which is a bit naughty of Olight, but never mind. And cream of the crop, I would argue, is the HC65 by Nikkor. I use this very regularly. Never too heavy, light. I love it. It's got USB charging built in behind a screwed section, which means it's still waterproof. You've got red light function there, which is great for night vision. You've also got a TIR lens there with a high CIR. CIR just stands for color rendering index. I'm not going to go into it because it's not part of this review, but I appreciate that, and you get about 25 hours out of that. And then for the main beam, there's the main beam. It's absolutely fantastic. So it really pushes out, but they've sensibly gone for a wide angle output there, which is essential if you're hiking and walking in the dark and things like that. So there's your options. That's got everything, but it's very expensive. That is a lovely tint, and it's an excellent TIR, but you're paying a hell of a lot of money for it, which is the Olight. That's medium. It's not that too expensive for what you're getting. Highly rate that. If you want some, that's the cheapest, but it's slightly more bulky, slightly heavier, slightly higher. It's not as wide as I would like, and this needs fixing, as well as the clip. That clip needs fixing. I'm sorry, but if I can take it off and put it on that easy, that's not acceptable. So marks out of 10. Let's get rid of this rubbish. I'll show you some beam shots outside, but I want to give this a mark. So let's have a think. So this needs fixing, that needs fixing. It needs to be slightly wider. I wish they could sort of chisel this down a little bit and not make it so chunky. It needs to be IPX8. No direct turbo, although it does have a strobe, even though it's slow. You do have a good UI, and it's pretty cheap. So I'm going to give this, do you know what? I'm going to give this 7.5. I think it deserves the 7.5. In fact, no, I'll give it 7, because they need to change that. I'll give it a 7. I just think there's a few things I need to change, but for the price, I think it's exceptional. If you're after a 90-degree headlamp, you're getting a lot for your money here, and it's a simple UI. So 7, room for improvement, and I'm sure they will. I'm hoping that, like the S2, when they brought out the S2 Plus, I'm hoping they bring out an H1 Plus where they fix these few little minor niggles, which maybe I'm being a little bit nitpicky, but I like things to be perfect. So 7, a little bit room for improvement, but for the money, I can certainly say you're getting a decent torch, and it's certainly going to work. I've had no problems, and I've used this extensively. I did a lot of testing on this just to make sure, and I've never had a single issue. Always works, and it's pretty decent. So there you go, 7, little bit of room for improvement. So enough of me waffling, let's get out.